Nandana Brajabalandana Gokula Ranjana Jana Gokula Ranjana Gokula Ranjana Jana Amala Harina Mania Vilasa Amala Harina Mania Vilasa Amala Harina Mania Vilasa Itina Purandara Narina Nagaramara Itina Purandara Itina Purandara Narina Nagaramara Itina Purandara Narina Nagaramara Shivadana Subhasa Shivadana Subhasa Rajajana Narada Rasarusika Kripamo Rasarusika Kripamoya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavan Natava Shri Radha Vallabha Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavan Natava Thank you very much. Mike, we're fairly rocking out. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Mukhaṁ karoti vachalam bhangum langhayate girim Yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataram. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Smayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Continuing in chapter 11 of Canto 11 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Uddhava Gita. And so tonight we'll just take a look at three verses, verses 23, 4, and 5. Here, now, previously what's Krishna been discussing? What did Uddhava ask? Uddhava's last question.
Something to do with the nature of the difference between the conditioned and liberated souls.
Yeah. You want to know what it looks like to be liberated. What's liberation about? So now Krishna's making a transition. There's a little demarcation here. I want to see if you can see where that demarcation is. So Krishna says, Shraddhalur matkata shrinvan subhadra loka pavanihi gayananusman karma janma chabhi nayan muhu madarte dhamma karmartan acharam madapashraya labhate nishchalam bhaktim mayudhava sanatane. My dear Uddhava, my faithful devotees always hear about and glorify my all auspicious characteristics. Goloka. Could you run down real quickly, please, and grab the Gita? I think it's on the bed. They meditate on me and enact my pastimes through dramatic performances, thus taking full shelter of me. They cultivate religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification only in relation to me. And in this way, they attain pure devotional service to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he says, Satsanga labdhaya bhaktya mayimam sa upasita. Thank you. Sabai me darshitam shadbhir anjasa vindate padam. One who has attained devotional service through the association of devotees always engages in worshiping me. As a result of his devotion, he easily attains my association in my eternal abode in the spiritual sky, which was revealed to him by my devotees. So, anybody detect the line of demarcation that Krishna draws here? What's he transitioning from and to? He's been discussing the nature of liberation.
Can you repeat the last?
What's he discussing in these verses? He's shifting gears.
Because he's saying that you can engage in economic development, sense gratification, as
Well,
long as it's
sure.
centered on Krishna.
Oh, okay. So what's the shift to? Pardon? Bhakti. Krishna's shifting here to bhakti. He's been describing liberation. complete neutrality, right? No good, no bad. If you're the sun, it's always daytime, it's always noon, right? You're completely equipoised, not affected by anything. Nothing bothers you. How does it go? The dump?
On the dump wind, the wind is not. The wind is always the wind. It's not like it blows over the dump and it's like, oh, now I'm a dump wind.
Yeah, no, I'm not a dump wind now. That's the wind, right? Or the sun's not thinking, oh, I'm that cruddy little pond. Oh, look at me. I mean, no, I'm the sun. And yeah, okay, there's a pond and it's kind of reflecting me. That's cute. He's not affected by it. The wind's not affected by whatever aromas it carries or anything. Completely detached. And who are a couple of our examples of such Atmaram, as we call them, right? They're completely satisfied with their own situation. So who are our Atmaramas? Oh, I'm talking about Atmarama. Completely detached. Has a clue. Digambar.
Lord Shiva.
Well, Lord Shiva is Digambar.
Can make it skyclad.
Skyclad. But who are our real examples?
4 Kumaras.
4 Kumaras. Anybody else?
Shukadeva
Goswami.
That's what I was trying to think.
Yeah. So completely neutral. However, they got tweaked, right? Shukadeva Goswami got tweaked, according to, I think it's Vishnu Purana, story in Vishnu Purana, by the disciples of Vyasadeva who went out into the woods disguised as woodcutters, and they started chanting Bhagavatam verses. And in that one verse, who could there be who's more worshipable than Krishna, who's more merciful than Krishna? Because, as Lord Brahma likes to say, he gave everything. He gave himself. He gave he gave bhakti. He gave the position of a nursemaid. He gave bhakti to Putana because she disguised herself as a devotee, as Brahma says. He gave himself to Putana and all her relatives, those creeps. Shakatasura, all those guys, Aghasura. Nasty, nasty people. Baby killers, right? People who wanted to engage in infanticide. So, that was especially Putana, but just what was his name? Arlo Guthrie. Child killers, mother killer. So when Shukadeva heard that verse, he was turned. He was no longer self-satisfied. He became agitated. He went from chittavritti nirota to having those chittavrittis stirred up, have bhakti waves to ride going on in his heart. And what did it for the 4 Kumaras?
At the gate of Vaikuntha.
The smell tells
Yeah, they smelled the incense and the fragrance of the tulsi leaf. What is that incense?
the rose.
That's the rose. Crazy. They smelled the incense and the tulsi leaves that were offered to the Lord. And bam, they were agitated. Oh, I got to be a devotee. So now Krishna is describing, he's going to describe bhakti. So what does he say about bhakti? Where's that line of demarcation? Anybody see it?
The 4th line in the first verse you read.
4th line, what was that? Karma janma cha bhiya.
No, I don't know about the Sanskrit, just the last part of that first verse, where he says that they can do all of this, like the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, as long as it's centered on me. And then the next thing he says,
Oh, that's in the first one. But aren't they Dharma, Karma, Artha, Charam, Madhapashraya? That's the first line of the second verse. Second line of the first verse says, Gayana nusmaram karma janma chabhi nayam. This is, they meditate on me and they relive my pastimes by reenacting them. But actually, the line I'm thinking of is the very first word, Shraddhalu, faithful. Because the liberated souls, they don't have any faith in the material world. They have faith in their identity as consciousness. But they don't have any faith in material endeavor, right? They're frustrated, but they're utterly frustrated by it. They realize that it's all futile, completely futile. Nothing to be gained except the trouble you take. So they strive for liberation. But what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita about those folks?
Where you can get it.
Well, before that even if you get it, your only real gain is the trouble you've taken to get it, because it's not what we're about. We're not about that. Maharaj calls it contentless awareness. It's like a heroin high or something, There's nothing going on. No, it's all good. Right? So that's not what the soul's nature is. What's the soul's nature? Yeah, but what's the soul about?
Loving and serving Krishna.
Jivera Swarupavaya. The real form, the real business of the jiva is Krishna Nitya Das, always serving Krishna. That's what we're about. So here Krishna shifted to that, and he said, okay, Shraddha Lua, Matkata Shrinvan Subhadra Lokapavani. Those who have faith in me. Now we got something to talk about here, because this other stuff, we don't really have anything to talk about. It's all cool. It's all one. Good, bad, yeah, whatever. And that's true. That's a kind of a baseline. But we want to build on that, because we want a life. That's not a life. That's just freedom, That spike up in your vein, you feel like Jesus' son. Oh. And I think that anyway. Velvet Underground going here. That's not what life, that's not real life. Real life is service to Krishna. So Krishna's making a shift here. He's on this line of demarcation. Okay, over here you've got liberated souls. And then, bam, Shraddha Lord, and then what? Those who have faith in me, Matkata Shrinvan Subhadra Lokapavanihi, is they always hear about and glorify my all auspicious characteristics. They meditate on me. They relive my pastimes by reenacting them. And they take shelter of me. And to the extent that they're engaged in dharma, artha, and kama, they only do it in relationship to me. They can do it. The other people, not so much. If you're really in the mode of goodness, you're completely detached. You got nothing to do. So you sit in the forest and meditate. And how do you live? God's mercy. If some leaves fall from the trees, or some fruits fall from the trees, or there's some roots you can get without too much trouble, cool. Otherwise, just meditate. You don't do it too far from a stream, so you have some water to drink without so much trouble. You minimize everything to practically zero, including breathing, even. What if Dhruva took a breath every 6 months or something like that? Completely minimum. I mean, you see, you read in the 4th canto how Dhruva Maharaj gradually, well, kind of gradually, pretty drastically, minimized his consumption to the point where he was standing on one foot with his hands folded, meditating on the form of Narayan in his heart as described by Narada Muni, chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And in his heart, and breathing taking a breath every few months. And because he wasn't breathing, he became so powerful, the movement of airs in the universe became out of balance. And the demigods all freaked out. And led by Lord Brahma, they went to where they always go when there's a crisis. They went to the shore of the ocean of milk and they petitioned Kirodakashaya Vishnu, the Vishnu of this universe. Help, we don't know what to do. The Lord woke up for a moment. He says, what? Oh, the heirs of the whole universe, they're all stopped up. Everybody's going to die. Everything's out of whack. Oh, I know. It's my devotee, that boy in Madhuvan Forest down there. Dhruva. Got it covered. I'll take care of it. So Dhruva's standing there on one foot. So powerful that if he shifted his weight, it had what kind of effect did it have on the earth? Worse than that.
Tsunami.
It's like an elephant in a boat. If an elephant shifts its weight in a boat, the boat's just like completely, it could capsize. So Dhruva shifted his weight a little bit, just like the whole earth would just. The movement of airs in the universe was completely stopped. Everything was just completely out of whack. Dhruva was meditating. And all of a sudden, that form disappeared from within his heart. Now, you're completely immersed in meditation on the Lord. And all of a sudden, it turns off. Going to be a little perturbed, right? Going to be a little startled. What the heck? So he wakes up, he opens his eyes, and what does he see? Right in front of him. That same form, right in front of him. So he was engaged. He was engaged in seeking artha, right, in a big way, bigger than his great grandfather, who is Brahma. He wanted a kingdom bigger than his great grandfather's. It's a pretty big desire for a 5-year-old boy. It's hardly a bike at Christmas or a handy Andy chemistry set. Something pretty big. But as soon as he saw the Lord, he thought, oh, I'm so stupid. In the Bhagavatam has him saying, just like a poor man who gets an audience with the king and asks for a bag of rice, asks for a handful of rice. The king says, oh, my dear subject, you look like you're a little unhappy. What can I do? How can I fix things? He says, man, I could sure use a bowl of rice. Your Majesty. Okay, there you go. How long is that going to last? King's ready to give him half his kingdom, give him anything he wanted, because it's his duty. He says, oh my gosh, here's somebody I'm responsible for. He's unhappy. I have to fix this. That's how they feel. That's how a leader feels. And the poor man says, yeah, how about a bag of Calrose rice? Not even basmati rice, sticky rice, short grain sticky rice. Good for eating with chopsticks, good for making, rice balls and stuff like that. Like you might see in old samurai movies or something. But he could have asked for anything. Or in the, is it Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya maybe? He says, I've been looking for pieces of broken glass, and I found the most valuable jewel. Swami BA Ashram. You don't hear Srila Prabhupada citing the Bhagavatam verse, you hear him citing Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya. Swami BA Ashram. As I give myself completely to you. So this is devotion. He says, Shraddha, Lord, those who have faith in me. So, anybody see any Bhagavad Gita connections here? Well, there's a verse Guru Maharaj likes to cite. Shraddha Mayoyam Purusha. We're made up of our faith. If we have faith in economic development, if we have faith in getting rich, we do everything we can to make money or to become famous. I mean, faith isn't just belief. Faith is where your heart is. Faith is where you store your treasure, as Jesus said, right? You store your keep your treasure here, it'll become corrupted. It'll rust, rot, whatever. If you keep your treasure in heaven, then it's always good. It's eternal. So where do we invest our life? That's how we see somebody's faith. And Krishna discusses that in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where he says that. He says, Shraddha Mayoyam Purusha. People are pretty much made up of their faith. We're identified by our faith. So I have faith in my nation. I'm an American. I'm going to fly those big old flags from my pickup truck. If I have faith in my university, I'm going to wear orange and blue when I go to the Gators game. That's for people who live in North Central Florida. They'll be able to understand it. No one else can. Or you paint your body that whatever the school colors are or something like that, right? You see those guys. And if I have, that's where I invest myself. That's where I invest my energy. That's where I give my love, in a sense. So Krishna says, okay, you got liberated souls over here. And then we got devotees. And the liberated souls, they're pretty much neutral. They're not affected by anything. But what happens to the devotees? They always want to hear about it. They always want to glorify my auspicious characteristics. My activities are always chanting my activities. Any other Bhagavad Gita connections here? Sumati? Any favorite verses come to mind?
Oh, always chanting my glories.
Chitta, Gita Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Katayantas Chamamitim, Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. Chitta Madgata Prana. My devotees, their consciousness is invested in me. They're always thinking of me. Madgata Prana. They give their lives to serving me. They use their intelligence to try to understand me. And Tushyanti, Katayantas Ramanti, Katayantas Chamam Nitim. They're always Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. They're always giving each other satisfaction and pleasure. How? Katayantas chaman, always engaged in chanting my glories. That's where they get their pleasure. So that's what Krishna is saying here to Uddhava, right? He says, they always hear about and glorify my all auspicious characteristics. They meditate on me. What chitta, right? Bodhayantas. And they relive my pastimes by enacting them, by engaging in dramatic performances. And thus they take shelter of me. And to the extent that they're engaged with the world, they do it for me. They don't have to be engaged with the world, but they can be, right? Everything they do is in relation to me. And the heck? I'm supposed to do what I say. And then he says, how do we get that faith? Where does that faith come from? Well, let's stick more closely to the verse we just read a few minutes ago. It comes from the association of devotees. All right, he says they get that faith in devotional service through the association of devotees. So what else does bhakti look like? It looks like living in the association of devotees, because that gives us an opportunity to always engage in Krishna's service. Sadhu Sangha Nam Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathuravas Srimutir Shraddhaya Seva. These 5 things are these 5 angas of sadhana bhakti are so powerful that Srila Rupa Goswami repeats them. He mentions them as he's listing the 64 most important devotional activities, and without repeating them. There are only 59, right? He makes up 64 by repeating these 5 again. Sadhu Sangha, associating with devotees. Anybody remember how Rupa Goswami describes the association of devotees? What devotees do you want to associate with?
More advanced than
They're more advanced than we are. Any other characteristics?
pure.
Snigdhasya. They're affectionately disposed. And Svajatiya. They're one of us. They have the same spiritual goals. They identify as one of us. So that's really our life. And even now, even today, there are devotees who look very much like liberated souls, look very much like pure devotees. They don't do anything but devotional service. And somehow or other, they're maintained. They live in the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's what they're about. And they don't do anything but devotional service. And still somehow, and they have faith. Oh, well, whatever, if I need something, it'll come. If it doesn't come, probably don't need it. We're thinking, oh, I got to have a bigger iPad. I got to have an iPhone 6S. Need a new truck. Well, if you really need it, it'll come, right? Apparently. So we see devotees, they just They just serve, and whatever they need is provided somehow or other. Somebody decides to become their patron, or they get an inheritance, or they just live in a hut, or a trailer, or a cave, or something. And they do their service. They engage in chanting, they engage in whatever service they, or they just kind of wander. And whatever they, that doesn't mean that stuff just falls out of the sky. Sometimes somebody says, it's like my friend Urmila. She doesn't work. She does a lot of stuff. Oh man, she does a lot of stuff. I don't know how she does all that stuff. And people want to hear from her. People want to associate with her. So they invite her places. She says, well, okay, if you want me to come, I'm going to need a ticket. I'm going to need a place to stay. Doesn't have a home of her own. Right? Doesn't have a place. She doesn't have her own home. She's just kind of wandering around wherever people want her to go. If they really want her to go to Australia, then they'll bring her to Australia, arrange a place for her to stay at somebody's house, stay in a room in a temple or whatever. And then for a couple of months out of the year, she goes, I think very intelligently, spends 2-3 months with her son and daughter-in-law, and their 9.5 kids.
9.5.
She's got a 10th coming.
Oh,
In Hilo, where she says the climate is most accommodating, I agree. Pretty, so, and she's got a room there. They tell her, okay, here's your room. And that's where she stays. I mean, she can't knock walls out and whatever. I mean, while she's there, she can put pictures up wherever she wants or something like that. But she can't take over the house because it's not her house. Murari and Mitch's house, and said, okay, here's your room. So while she's there, she's got a place to sleep, place to work, place to do her worship. There's a Guru Maharaj. A lot of endeavor. He's actually made a lot of endeavor to make sure, he had Augdarya happen, but they started out living in the forest in tents, bathing with buckets. And people want them to go somewhere, they make the arrangements. They send them an email with the e-ticket. Okay, here's when you're coming and here's how. And we'll have someone to pick you up. And we've got a place for you to stay. So there are a lot of devotees who live like that even now. They don't have anything going on but service. So they're not just sitting in the forest meditating, hoping a leaf or an abana will fall into their lap or something like that. They may, they may find some way to go out and buy a guanabana, buy some mangoes, get some milk and make some kheer or sweet rice or shrikand or sandesh or gulab jamuns and offer to the Lord. So there's that shift there, and what is it? What is it that changes one from an Atmarama to a Bhakta? Shraddha, faith. Their faith changes. Instead of having just faith in the fact that, I'm consciousness and nothing can bother me, nothing can touch me, they make themselves vulnerable. They allow themselves to become vulnerable. And vulnerable also to the company of devotees. Prema Bhakti was writing today something about, I'm just going to become pure and Siddhanta. And I said, well, yeah. But, that's good. And that's certainly good. But it's even deeper when there's love too. Love for devotees. And when I read Chaitanya Charitamrita, as I mentioned, when I read Chaitanya Charitamrita, I essentially see two things very prominently. One is these chapters that we've been reading, instructions. Either Lord Chaitanya instructing Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, or being instructed by Ramananda Roy, or teaching Rupa Goswami, teaching Sanatan Goswami, Prakashananda Saraswati, and the Mayavadi sannyasis. Or loving exchanges among devotees. That's the other big thing I see in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavatam as well. So many loving exchanges between devotees. So not only are the devotees not competing with everybody else to get access to the resources of material nature, but they strive to create a competitionless society with God at the center. And all kinds of love, just like Braja. Braja is that place where everything's harmonized. There is no contradiction. And you've got competition, right? At bedtime, Mother Yashoda wants very much for Krishna. Get to bed, get a good night's rest. And the gopis want, and Krishna wants. That's the real key. Very much that Krishna sneak out at night with his girlfriends and dance in the moonlight and do all kinds of naughty stuff. So there is competition, but that competition, everything, it's all working together to enhance the love. And then when Krishna sneaks back in 5 o'clock in the morning, Mangalarti time, Krishna sneaks back in at 5 o'clock in the morning and closes his eyes like he's been asleep, and Mother Yashoda sees he's got all these scratches and little marks all over him. She said, I told Balaram, keep him out of trouble. And he gets so beaten up, horsing around in the forest, killing the demons and all the other stuff that he does. Those were air quotes for the people out in iPhone land. In there. And he never listens to me. He's not a very good, very responsible big brother, because he's all, look at him, I thought he was all cleaned up. Now he's all dirty and scratched up. And so there is a kind of competition going on. But it all just makes it more fun. I mean, I remember when I was young, the greatest thrill was after a date sneaking out to go see my girlfriend again, throwing rocks at the window. She would climb down, and we just go out in the woods. We lived right near Mount Vernon in Virginia, and back then there was still a lot of woods around there, and there was a creek. We'd go there, and best of all, we would look up at the stars and talk about big stuff like God, that we weren't always that cool. But that was real excitement, and you got to sneak back in later. And of course, your parents don't want you doing that stuff because it's not good for you. So Krishna is also naughty. So we go from this neutrality to all of a sudden being vulnerable again. Completely surrendered to Krishna. It says they take He says they take complete shelter of me. And then what happens as a result of that is they easily attain my abode in the spiritual sky. That same abode that was revealed to them by the devotees. So it's all about association with devotees. And that's where we get our faith. Like a crystal. Like that example is given. Maybe someone of the Puranas, I can't remember. You take a clear crystal and it takes on the color of the room you put it in. So we take on the color of our association. So if we associate with devotees, then we share their faith. And then we can share our faith with others. Okay, so next, and we'll have to wait a little bit for that because I'm being taken away. But Uddhava is going to ask another question. So he's asked, okay, what's liberation look like? And Krishna has shifted gears. And Uddhava is going to ask another question. Okay. So these people that you just talked about, the people who have faith in you, the devotees, what do they look like? And we'll see some verses that should be a little familiar to us. Anybody have anything to add? Or any questions or anything?
I was just thinking about earlier today, I was thinking about the nature of faith and the nature of how, we were talking a little bit about how people have faith in things in the world. That they have faith, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make money, or I'm going to go out and find love, or I'm going to conquer the world, or I'm going to change this and make my mark, or whatever. And the devotees were kind of fortunate because we have different things happen. We have friends and family that die, or whatever negative things happen in life, and it kind of breaks our faith in those kind of things, and we start to see those things as futile, and it's not worth pursuing that when it doesn't come to a positive end. And I was just thinking about the good fortune. It's like one of those situations where
it's the good, well, those things happen to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone responds the same. Some people become junkies, or drunks. Some people become suicidal. Some people become sociopaths because of those same things. But the good fortune is that somewhere along the line, we came across a devotee acting as an agent of Krishna's Kripa Shakti. So not only was our faith in the material world broken, did we see because the junkie also sees the futility of any material endeavor. What's the point in doing anything other than going out and stealing stuff so that I can get my $1,200–1,300 worth of dope today to put up my arm? And that's exactly what that's about. We talked about that last time when we talked about the rat park. It's not the availability of the drugs that makes somebody a junkie. It's the utter lack of availability of any satisfaction in life. So we get teased by the illusion that there may be some, and so by the illusion that there may be something to be gained here, and we chase that. But eventually, we could just be completely broken by that, and our lives, or immerse ourselves in intoxication, or addiction to pursuing sex as just a distraction from the emptiness. Just like the people in that Sam Shepard play that I mentioned before, going over to the refrigerator and thinking, oh, there's supposed to be something in the refrigerator, and they just stand in front of the door for a while. There's nothing there. or there's not what they wanted there, or there's not enough of it, or something. Curse of the starving class. So, I mean, you know, that's also there. So once that happens, then tasmad gurum prapatita. Then you need to take shelter of a guru. You need to surrender to a guru. If you don't have that, then the other option is there. And that's self-destruction. So we all have our faith in the material world broken, but those who are atibhagya, they're visited by Krishna's kripa shakti in the form of devotee. Bhakti Devi follows their lead, and if they're kind to somebody, then she goes there. She enters that person's heart. She claims him. Game over. Becomes a new game. But yeah, that's a good observation. Good thing to be thinking about during the day. Anything else?
Just to add to that, when I lived on the Lower East Side in the late 60s, and there was a lot of bums, the Bowery bums, the Houston Street bums, Second Avenue bums, Mark Street bums. And I would talk to them sometimes, and some of them have been very successful college professors, businessmen, and they had actually become so disillusioned and so frustrated with whatever it was that frustrated them particularly, that they had chosen to live as a bum on the street. That suited them better than having to struggle so hard to maintain that false dream.
It's all a game, and guess what? Game's rigged, fixed.
No way to win.
There's no way to win. Nobody gets out alive. In fact, and whatever it is, it's like there was a film, early 70s maybe, about students at Harvard Law School. And the name of the film was The Paper Chase. And one of the things you saw there, it's just a game. And if you keep playing the game, then eventually you get your Harvard Law degree, and then you get a position at some Wall Street, some downtown law firm somewhere, or you get to be an associate, and then eventually maybe you'll get to be a partner or something like that. And if you're a partner, then you're really stuck, and your life's really miserable, because you got to be part of all this nonsense that's going on, horrible intra-office politics, and then it's not. I worked with lawyers for a couple of years. That was my intention, was to go to law school and be a lawyer myself. And after working with lawyers in Honolulu, and these were the good guy lawyers. These are guys at Legal Aid Society. These are the guys the men and women who went to bat for the underdog, and fighting for social justice and things like that. And it was nasty. I just thought, I'm not sure I want to do that to myself. Well, I'm not sure I want to become miserable like these people. And it's the same thing. The academic life, there's cool stuff about it. But it's sometimes there's so much competition and viciousness. I was in graduate school at San Diego State University. It's not like I was in some PhD program at Harvard or something like that. And we were talking about some collaborative projects to work on, and we wanted to do things cooperatively among groups. And there were a couple of women in this one seminar that I was enrolled in. They said, "This is graduate school. we're not supposed to be like, we're not supposed to be holding hands or something. And I said, well, first of all, this is a graduate seminar for people who want to teach writing in college. And, writing is often a collaborative thing, And it's, for goodness sake, it's San Diego State, We're in a master's program at San Diego State. So, why do we have to cut each other's throats? Let's work together to figure out some of these concepts, so that we can become, better professors or whatever, and it's miserable. And you know what they say, why academic politics are so nasty? Because the stakes are so low. It's, I was a professor at a little community college. The full-time faculty was 95, and there were a bunch of part-timers, so it was, we had a student population of maybe 2,200 students at our college, and our faculty was less than 100. A full-time faculty was less than 100 professors, and we were on a little island in the middle, smack in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And you think, oh, mellow. It was awful sometimes. It was just awful. And I was only partly upset that someone with the power to do something about it felt that I didn't fit in. So, you get this, this is a not at all uncommon thing. Now, a lot of those people are there involuntarily because they're suffering from PTSD or something from Vietnam, the Gulf War, and then the wars of the last 15, 14 years or something. But yeah, there were a lot of people, successful people just dropped out because they saw it's all a game and it's rigged. And, it's the people who are still fooled by it, or can't see some way out. So you might, some of these people would rather end up on Bowery Street or Houston Street or Mott Street. It's not, it's not that those Mott Street crew that came to Srila Prabhupada. They're a bunch of do-nothings. Hayagriva traveled the world and been to India and everything. He had a master's degree. He taught English here and there, part-time at different colleges, and pretty smart guy. Kirtanananda was a PhD student at Columbia. They weren't just bums, but they had chosen, a bohemian life over the rat race because they saw through it. If you see through it, how are you going to play? It doesn't make any sense. But what kept them from just turning, becoming junkies or whatever, was that Srila Prabhupada showed up right there in the middle of them. Because that's where Krishna had taken him. Okay, it's late. Going to Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ki jai.
Hayagriva and Kirtananda, they went to India